It's been a little while since we've done a video. It's actually been a little bit over 2 months. I think the last one we did was on January 1st.
Yep.
And it's definitely time for a little update for you guys.
So we have decided that rather than renting out our house and taking a 1-year gap year, we are going to sell everything and travel for as long as we can.
We've never done anything like this before, and we realize this sounds really crazy to most people and even a little bit crazy to us. We are selling the house and cars and almost everything, but we're going to keep enough stuff that kind of when or if we do land back in Canada, we'll have enough to kind of get us started in a much smaller house, which is what we would anticipate we would want at that time.
Yeah, taking this whole minimalist attitude, if we do land back here, we would love to do things differently than what we have done by having a more minimalist lifestyle, a smaller home, less stuff to be tied down to, so that even if we do settle down somewhere, we can still travel if we want to.
Yeah, what we came to realize is that there are a lot of benefits to doing things this way. The two main ones are, number one, financially speaking, we still do have a mortgage, but the value of homes in the kind of greater Toronto area in Canada, which is where we live, have gone up quite a bit in the last couple of years. So we have quite a bit of equity in our home that we can then kind of tap into and use that money to invest. And then the second major benefit of it is that then we're not really tied to that 12-month timeline. And
right.
The more that we got looking into all of the things that we want to do on this trip, 12 months at the beginning seemed like a really long time, but now it's actually far too short to fit in even half of what we want to do. So, our new plan is actually to start off with the same plan as before, which is backpacking around the world. I guess one of the things that's really changed since we did the last video is that in doing our research and looking at other families who are doing long-term travel, you can't avoid the fact that most families who are doing this are actually sailing, which was a total surprise to us. We just never even thought of it because neither of us have ever really even been sailing before.
Right.
It's more economical because you're carrying your accommodation and your transportation with you all the time, as opposed to backpacking where you never really have a home base. Your boat becomes your home base, and that can be especially good for kids. So that's kind of why I have this kind of funny tan going on.
We needed to address this.
It
was like the elephant in the room.
Yeah, because
I look really pale. I did not go.
I just got back last night from taking the RYA Competent Cruise sailing course in Antigua, which is a 5-day sailing course. I did it with a really good friend of mine for a week, and it was absolutely incredible. I've got a bunch of video footage from that, and I'm going to be putting a video together just on that course to kind of see if it suited me, because if we do the sailing thing at some point, then I'll be the captain, and if I can't do it, then it wouldn't be an option. But turns out I actually love it, and it was amazing. I won't get into it more than that. We'll do the other video. Do you want to talk about how the kids feeling?
Well, I think it works well because we do spend a lot of time as a family watching these YouTube channels, certain families that we follow, and when Matt and I decided, you know what, why don't we just sell everything, and this would just give us so much more freedom, we were worried that the kids wouldn't handle that news well. And so far they have been so amazing, but we weren't sure if cutting kind of those ties to a home to come back to would be a bit much for them to...
Too uncomfortable.
Yeah. So we sat down, had a family meeting, and just kind of said, like, look, this is what we're thinking. It would give us a bit more freedom, and immediately they were like, does this mean we possibly buy a sailboat? And we're like, maybe. So yeah, they all are on board. Let's sell everything. They've only requested to keep Lego in storage, which is fine with me.
They're excited about the backpacking
Yeah.
aspect of it. And of course you see very different parts of the world being on land backpacking than you would on a sailboat.
Sure.
But as excited as they are about the backpacking portion of it, I think they're twice as excited about the prospect of potentially sailing. So that was a pretty easy sell. A lot of people naturally wonder about schooling for the kids, and I think we're gonna do a video just on that as well, because that's a big topic. But suffice it to say right now, the more we look into education for the kids as we go away, the more we realize we don't need to worry about it. There's so many resources out there. There's so many ways to do it. There's really no obstacles in terms of the homeschool or in terms of the schooling system here, and having to follow a curriculum or anything like that. Yeah, in terms of our own apprehension about that, that's gone way down, and we will explain all about that in another video. The other kind of burning question that I think everybody has, whether they verbalize it or not to us, is how can we afford this? Personal finance has always been an interest of mine. And so I'm going to do a video specifically on that, kind of how we are affording it, what we anticipate our expenses are going to be, and things like that. The other big burning question that people have, the doubters out there, like, what if this all turns out to be like a huge mistake and we hate it and it's a complete disaster?
Right. And it could happen. We don't know. So we have not traveled with our children. Matt and I have gone away over the years a few times, but our kids have not been on an airplane. They haven't gone anywhere. So we could hate this. It could happen, and the way we view it is, it happens, then we know. So if we make it for 6 months of backpacking and we're like, oh my gosh, we need a home, well, we just had 4 to 6 months of an awesome family vacation.
Yeah.
I don't see it ever being a huge mistake. I think no matter what, it will take us to whatever next stage we are supposed to be at.
Yeah, there's a quote in a book I just read recently that says that given the choice between unhappiness and uncertainty, most people will choose unhappiness. And I guess we've decided as a family that we're going for uncertainty. And I think there's a 95% chance that this could be the absolute adventure of a lifetime, and it will be something that defines us as a family and as individuals. And I think there's about a 5% chance that something could go very wrong, or it's just so uncomfortable that we decide, you know what, we actually much prefer our kind of life in a house back in Canada.
Yep.
But even if that happens, then we'll be glad that we did it, because then we'll know and we'll have that, our life back in Canada here, and know with certainty that that's the right decision for us.
I think if you fall in the trap of all the reasons you shouldn't go, you will never go.
Yeah. And it's also the example that I think we really want to set for the kids, is it's okay to take some calculated risks sometimes, especially if the potential benefits are big enough, and we think that the potential benefits of this trip are enormous. We're going all in.
Yes.
Last little note, please consider subscribing to our little channel here so that you get updates. Subscribe to our blog. We'll be updating that probably even more frequently than the YouTube channel.
Especially once we get going.
Yeah, and if there's other questions that you guys have that we are not addressing that you're curious about, feel free to post those in the comments, and we'll get to them. All right, signing off.
Thank you.